Before we get started, The Wind is an independent podcast made possible by listener support. If you'd like to join the community and get access to bonus episodes and more, head to patreon.com/thewind to set up a monthly donation. That's patreon.com/thewind. A few years back, I went on a tour around the West, performing wind readings in bookstores, coffee shops, parks. When I was younger, I toured with bands, and this experience was pretty similar. Both energizing and difficult, long drives, new friends, sleeping in the back of the truck. It's often a mix of this feeling of freedom that you get, and also a crushing reality of the way the landscape, both culturally and physically, has been flattened by commercialism. Between those long days, though, you get an occasional gathering that feels like people are really connecting to the work and to each other. A tour is like a real-time performance on a 1-to-1 scale map. On that trip in Boise, Idaho, I had the pleasure of performing at an art center called Searles Place. I was joined on stage by my friend Matt Bunk, and Matt has a way of mixing music and poetry and narrative that just really resonates with me. So for year 6, I reached out and asked him to create a piece for The Wind. The following is a walking tour that you can do anywhere. Matt will introduce the concept, which includes a deck of cards, and if you don't have a deck of cards, that's all right. You can listen to the episode without them. Though, if possible, I do recommend walking while listening. This episode is called Walking Tour for Anywhere.
The Wind. With Phil Corbett.
Describing Canaletto's paintings of Venice, the essayist Thomas Mire Lopez writes of a city as a series of the hypothetical, the what might have been. A city is a space for memory to use. Canaletto, a landscape painter whose work looks documentary at first blush, is best known for his imaginary views of his city. Paintings done from impossible perspectives, paintings connecting streets that don't intersect, paintings including combinations of buildings nowhere near each other. Mire Lopez writes, "One's tempted to use Canaletto as map and compass, to stitch all his views and angles together to form one grand city of analogies, a city in which you can walk around the corner of one scene and into the next." My aim here is to present a Canaletto map for use in any city. You'll need a deck of cards with the face cards and jokers taken out. Shuffle them well and lace up your walking boots. These cards will be our tour directions. The map's legend is simple. Clubs for left, spades for right, diamonds forward, and hearts back. The card's number is the direction of blocks to go in that direction. So say you draw the 2 of spades, that's a direction to walk 2 blocks to the right. Or the 6 of diamonds, that's 6 blocks straight ahead. Aces are ones here. This map works best in a residential neighborhood. Pause this audio until you're ready to begin the tour. Facing the street, draw your first card. As a reminder, clubs are left, spades are right, diamonds are forward, and hearts are back. For now, if you get diamonds or hearts, redraw until you get clubs or spades. Once you have your heading, begin your walk. Stop after the given number of blocks. We're looking for a small blue house. Pause this audio until you arrive. The H.K. Hummel House, as it's named on the National Register of Historic Places, was originally built in 1910. Designed by Johnson and Kelleher, it remains an excellent example of the firm's design staples. Although the house was designed on commission by Harry K. Hummel, a prominent local businessman in sheep ranching, he never lived in the house himself. In 1909, Lydia Hummel, his wife, had been diagnosed with stomach cancer, which required them to stay closer to medical care. After Lydia's death, just before construction was completed on the house, Harry sold it to his brother-in-law, John Lessinger, a notably less successful businessman in steel manufacturing, known for his gambling habits. By 1920, the house had likely become a bordello. Census records list 6 women of varying occupations, hairdressers and dressmakers, living and working in the house. Whether John Lessinger also lived there at the time is unknown, although he was brought to court the following year on charges of keeping a house of prostitution. Business suffered during the Great Depression, and the house fell into disrepair as a vacant lot. Sometime between then and now, this became the Witch House. Do you remember that? Walking home from school, this was the house your friends swore changed direction overnight, moved of its own accord. The air seemed to fizz and pop around the Witch House. It made strange sounds, strange music. It was unsettling but not unfriendly. Do you remember the light that came on once as you passed by late at night, inviting you in? Draw your next card. We're looking for a house with red trim and accents. Pause this audio until you arrive. This lovely house was built in 1967 by the Pelly construction development firm, active in the area from 1955 until its acquisition by Lawson Homes in 2003. The house's first occupants were Richard and Andrea Miller, both teachers at the nearby elementary school. Throughout the late 60s and 70s, the Millers' house acted as the headquarters of the local Salvation Army, hosting weekly youth groups and frequent community dinners. Andrea Miller, an avid gardener, planted blue hydrangea bushes along the original walk up to the door, which can be seen in photos from the time. Looking at the window on the right-hand side, you can almost see Andrea's piano around the corner, next to the favorite yellow chair where Richard planned his lessons. The sound of rain against that window is so soothing. Little tap-tap-taps, like grains of rice falling on the panes. And you know this, don't you? This is the house you grew up in. A city, like a person, is an infinitely changing landscape. We are sedimentary constructions of memory and dream. We create new selves periodically. Returning to a house you used to live in is returning to a previous self, or that previous self's grave, now overgrown with new inhabitants. When you lived here, the water heater broke once a year in spring, and the front door shrank a little in winter, so you had to shove it open and slam it closed. There was the year your sister pierced your ears with a sewing needle in the bathroom, and then the year your brother lost the class hamster in the yard. There was the year of the little red spider infestation, when Dad found some hiding in the paprika jar. You can still see them crawling along the kitchen windowsill. Draw your next card. We're looking for a weather-worn house. Pause this audio until you arrive. This house belongs properly in another city altogether. We see it on our map only through the magic of Canaletto, transposed out of time and place in the logic of imperfect memory. You lived here in a period of desolation. You think of this now as your wilderness period. There was no furniture in the house, because there were no guests. This was where you sat and scribbled copies of poems, lyrics, dialogue from the movies you watched using an old projector. This was where things fermented, rotted, molded, went to rust. When you lived here, this house was a monument to single-minded focus. Built in 1997 as part of an urban renewal project sponsored by the city, it has been a temporary home to many, most notably to the painter Sylvia Green, in whose painting, Underneath Number 4, the back bedroom's alley view was immortalized. Green lived here as a teenager with her mother in the early 2000s before the original shingled roof was replaced. Speaking in an art forum interview about her inspirations for the textures she layered onto her canvases throughout the 2010s, she said,
I think a lot about the way children experience texture. It's like they put everything in their mouths. They get so close to everything. And part of that is being small and close to the ground, having a different perspective from adults. And I try to explore that too. Like, I was really looking at perspective with my small canvas series a few years ago, but now with this multimedia element, I'm looking at how to represent that up-close sensory experience of the world that kids have. Like, I'm putting the painting in my mouth too. And so I've been thinking about textures I can really clearly remember from my childhood and my teen years too. Like, there was this one house where the roof hung low over my bedroom window, and sometimes the shingles would fall off in the winter. They had this crazy gritty texture, kind of sandpaper, like a cat's tongue. I both loved and hated them.
By the time you lived here, the roof had been replaced. Draw your next card. We're looking for a parked van. Pause this audio until you arrive. This van has been through uncountable owners, not least because it has changed hands without being re-registered several times. Less important than its official owners are the places it has been. It has been through 25 states, if you count a very brief pass through northern Georgia on the interstate between bits of Tennessee and North Carolina. It has brought its passengers to rodeos in Cheyenne, lighthouses on Lake Michigan, goth clubs in Portland, all-night diners in Des Moines. It has been to Mexico and Canada, and has aspirations of someday getting to Alaska by land. But these days, the van mostly sits in the driveway. You used to be a snail. You were obsessed with the idea of carrying your house on your back, a spiral shape with room for everything you needed. You were mobile and light, and if not fast-moving, then at least self-sufficient. You used to say you would never settle anywhere. But eventually, of course, you found your community, people and places to be tethered to. Is this fulfillment or stagnation? Draw your next card. We're looking for a large white house. Pause this audio until you arrive. Built in 1954, this house is an excellent example of Yumi Sugimura's early work as a junior partner at Buxton and Brown. Modifications were made in the early 70s before her work came to prominence in its own right. Further additions, including the second-story balcony, were made throughout the late 80s and early 90s. The house was first owned by David Morris, a real estate attorney who willed it to his practice following his death in 1995. It briefly functioned as an auxiliary office for Morris, Cameron, and Myers before being rezoned to residential use in 1998. But you know this as the Shapiro's house. You've been house-sitting here for years. Beth and Alan Shapiro are friends of the parents of an old friend of yours. Over time, the links in that chain have rusted away, but you keep coming back here. Originally, you were dog-sitting, and then you were dog and cat-sitting, and then just cat-sitting, and now just house-sitting. There's not much to do to keep the house running in their absence, just watering a few plants, and you suspect they ask you back more out of ritual than need. When you asked last year about the possibility of another pet, Mr. Shapiro, this is still what you call him, had said, "I just don't think we have enough time left for that." House-sitting is trying on someone else's life, stubbing your toes on someone else's furniture. You've always found this vaguely unsettling, although you're not sure whether it's because you feel like you're snooping through someone's personal things, sleeping in their bed and drinking their coffee, or if it's because you feel watched while doing it. Still, you enjoy watching the changes in the lives of relative strangers through their possessions. New terracotta plates from Italy in the dining room hutch, the little blanket from Peru in the living room, these accumulations of treasures from trips abroad. The appearance of the workbench and whittling tools when Mr. Shapiro retired. The disappearance of the espresso machine when Mrs. Shapiro started having heart trouble. Their kids getting older and the photos on the fridge. Christmas cards. Wedding save-the-dates. Funeral invitations. Draw your next card. We're looking for a small brown house. Pause this audio until you arrive. The enigmatic Ralph Rivera Garza, known for his 1978 political noirish crime fiction hit Despite of Times, Despite of Enemies, had long been a recluse by the time he came to live at Gentle Bear Hospice, located here from 1982 to 2012. Though he never published a novel again after Despite of Times, a final collection of his short stories was published posthumously in 2014. In the story Firmament, likely written shortly before his death in 2011, he writes,
"At the end of life, I find it is an overcrowded kitchen in an empty house, small and brown."
After Gentle Bear closed in 2012, the building was sold to real estate developer Mike Fansler, who converted the 6 patient rooms and staff quarters into communal living apartments. This is how you came to be sardined in here with too many roommates, everybody dedicated to the cheap rent, but bickering. It's strange to think of all those people now, a time even murkier than the rest of our tour, almost a dream within a dream. Whatever happened to Sadie and her small business selling uncomfortable crocheted hats? Or to Camilla, the avowed atheist who hung out with Mormons? Or who was that guy with the tiny dog? Aaron, maybe? He was a forgettable guy, but man, that dog was great. She shook almost constantly. She was almost hairless, almost blind, unknowably old. She had terrible breath, bit when nervous, and sometimes she peed in the house, but yet she was universally beloved. Well, almost universally beloved. Ida had always hated the dog, although she maintained that the dog had started it, which was hard to disprove. Loving the dog was such an integral part of the house, so central a binding agent among the people who lived there, that Ida may have been thrown out at the end of her probably illegal sublet lease, except for the massive Turkish dinners she made once a month. All of you aspiring poets, you used to compete improvising haikus at these dinners, but after Sadie, in a long sequence of clearly pre-written haikus, more or less publicly proposed to Camilla, who immediately said no, everyone felt it would be in bad taste to write any more haikus. On this next leg of our journey, try writing one now. Draw your next card. We're looking for a house with a good front porch. Pause this audio until you arrive. You never really lived here. You split your time here, half living with a lover who didn't want to officially move in together. For years, you held a grudge about this, about their unwillingness to be part of your world, their holding an arm's length of all of your friends. But then you saw them again after the dust had settled. You asked why they had never wanted to know the people you loved, and they said, "I always wanted more for you from your friends. I don't think many of them were very good to you." You don't know what to make of this. In 2007, First Rate Design and Build was one of the most prolific companies in new residential construction, building starter home-focused subdivisions across the city. Here, the Washington Gardens subdivision was planned to include 12 houses covering this block, but the project was abandoned in the wake of the 2008 housing crash. This house is one of the only 2 ever completed. Its counterpart, identical in layout but with a green and white exterior, stood on nearby Lot 5 until it burned down in 2009. The fire's cause was never determined conclusively. Draw your next card. We're looking for a house with a steeply pitched roof. Pause this audio until you arrive. First owned and occupied from 1998 on by Ian O'Neill, a stock trader, this house would go on to be very publicly associated with his son Seth O'Neill, the software engineer behind Silvertree. Though he claimed to have invented the Silvertree graphics engine in the garage here, the story is spurious at best. After Silvertree was acquired by IBM in 2008, the house was donated to a local storefront evangelical congregation in a move that has since widely been condemned as tax evasion. With only minor structural changes aside from redone bathrooms and the added stained glass window in the back, the building was operational as the Grace Revival Church until a few years ago, when the church relocated again to accommodate expanding membership. You did not attend this church, but you knew someone who did. You can picture in astonishing detail the circular stained glass window at the back, over the altar, with the white dove of peace against an orange field. It makes you feel slightly sick thinking of it now. You do not remember much of the funeral. You remember the pastor saying something about meatloaf, the indelible mixture of flour and ketchup, which was to say love and grief. You remember the casket coming down the aisle on the beer with a squeaky wheel. Mostly, you remember the white dove of peace on the orange field. Draw your next card. We're looking for a construction zone. Pause this audio until you arrive. First built in 1902 to serve as a school, this building was repurposed as a tuberculosis sanitarium in 1938 as cases in the area began to increase. Conditions in the hospital were reportedly poor, and by 1946 the building had been condemned for structural instability. It sat empty for several years until it was bought and refurbished by the Elks Lodge. It remained the active social quarters for Lodge number 2107 until 1966. As neighborhood demographics shifted, the lot was rezoned from mixed use to commercial and sold to the Chen family, who ran it as a corner grocery and Asian market until 1982. As demographics changed again, much of the existing Chinese American community here was priced out. The land was bought by investment firm Old Pine Wealth and held until 1991 when the firm went bankrupt. Much of the original building fell to ruin, although the foundation still remains intact. While the lot was acquired by the Historical Society in 2001, efforts to rebuild and restore the building as a site of historical interest have stalled out in the face of high construction costs. This place is the halfway house between memory and forecast. Where there is absence, there is potential. Draw your next card. We're looking for a house you like the look of. Pause this audio until you arrive. This is the house you will someday live in. Maybe the house you will die in. This house could be anything. This house has a sunroom. This house is big enough to hold everyone you love and everything you need. This house has secret doors between rooms. This house is a sanctuary. This house has a warmly lit kitchen with checkerboard backsplash. This house can be easily dog and child-proofed. This house has a bay window facing east. This house could be anywhere. You sometimes think all cities are interchangeable. There are things to love and fear everywhere. Reno reminds you of Sacramento, reminds you of Twin Falls, reminds you of Albuquerque. Sometimes you find it hard to remember you are all the people you have been. Sometimes you think if you can see all the places that have held you laid out in the right kind of map, it might be like a jigsaw puzzle. You might emerge out of the mess, a whole, continuous person.
The Wind is produced by me, Phil Corbett. This independent podcast is made with listener support. If you'd like to help make this show possible, head to patreon.com/thewind and set up a monthly donation. This episode was created entirely by Matt Bunk. You can find Matt's work at allaroundcowboy_loops on Instagram and at bit.ly/MattBunkArtist. I will post links to both of those in the episode description. For links, photos, and more, visit thewind.org. Thank you for being here, and keep listening.